Pirate, privateer, legend. Sir Henry Morgan was one of the most feared and successful figures of the Golden Age of Piracy. But was he a ruthless outlaw or a cunning strategist working for the crown? His daring raids, brutal battles, and rise from seafarer to knighted governor made him a legend of the Caribbean. From sacking Spanish cities to commanding entire fleets, Morgan's story is one of adventure, betrayal, and power. He burned Panama to the ground, evaded capture, and even became a respected leader, all while amassing a fortune. His name is still remembered today, not just in history books, but on bottles of rum. But who was the real Henry Morgan? Join us as we dive into the real-life story of one of history's most notorious privateers. Let's set sail into his incredible story. Sir Henry Morgan was one of the most infamous and successful privateers of the 17th century. Though often associated with piracy, Morgan operated as a privateer, meaning his raids and attacks were legally sanctioned by the English crown. His daring exploits against the Spanish in the Caribbean made him a feared and respected figure, and his legacy continues to shape popular perceptions of piracy. Morgan's life was marked by ambition, strategic brilliance, and the transition from ruthless raider to noble governor. His story is one of adventure, war, and political maneuvering, making him one of the most fascinating figures of the Golden Age of Piracy. Henry Morgan was born around 1635 in Wales. Though little is known about his early life, some accounts suggest he came from a well-off farming family, while others speculate that he was kidnapped or sold into indentured servitude and brought to the Caribbean. Regardless of how he arrived, by the 1650s, Morgan had joined English privateering ventures in the West Indies, setting the stage for his future as a formidable seafarer and military leader. During this time, England and Spain were bitter rivals, with ongoing conflicts over control of the Caribbean and its lucrative resources. English privateers were often granted letters of marque, which authorized them to attack Spanish ships and settlements in the name of the crown. Morgan seized this opportunity and quickly rose through the ranks of privateering forces, earning a reputation for his courage and leadership. Morgan's first major success came in 1668 when he led an audacious raid on Portobello, Panama. The Spanish city was heavily fortified and considered nearly impenetrable. However, using deception and brute force, Morgan and his men overpowered the defenders and took control of the city. They looted its wealth, held its officials for ransom, and left Portobello in ruins. This victory not only enriched Morgan, but also cemented his reputation as one of the most effective commanders in the Caribbean. Following this success at Portobello, Morgan continued his campaign against the Spanish. He launched attacks on Maracaibo and Gibraltar, key Spanish settlements along the northern coast of South America. These raids demonstrated his military ingenuity as he outmaneuvered Spanish forces, plundered their cities, and evaded capture. By the late 1660s, Morgan had become one of the most powerful privateers in the Caribbean, commanding a fleet that struck fear into Spanish colonies. Morgan's most famous exploit occurred in 1671 when he set his sights on Panama City, the wealthiest Spanish settlement in the Americas at the time. Despite its strong defenses, Morgan and his men embarked on a daring overland march through the dense jungles of Panama. After enduring harsh conditions and fierce resistance, his forces overwhelmed the Spanish defenders and captured the city. However, Panama's immense wealth largely eluded Morgan, either because much of it had been evacuated before his arrival or because the city was set ablaze during the attack. Nevertheless, this campaign was a massive success in terms of military achievement and demonstrated Morgan's ability to coordinate large-scale attacks against formidable enemies. Unfortunately for Morgan, his timing was problematic. England and Spain had just signed a peace treaty, and his raid on Panama technically violated that agreement. As a result, he was arrested and sent back to England to face potential punishment. Despite the controversy surrounding the Panama raid, Morgan was not punished as harshly as expected. In fact, upon returning to England, he was knighted by King Charles II in 1674. Instead of facing imprisonment or execution, Morgan was sent back to Jamaica, where he was appointed lieutenant governor. In this new role, Morgan transitioned from raider to ruler, using his knowledge of piracy to help suppress other pirates and protect English interests in the Caribbean. Morgan spent his later years enjoying the wealth and prestige he had earned through his privateering career. He became a wealthy plantation owner and an influential political figure in Jamaica. Despite his past as a ruthless privateer, he worked to maintain order and even prosecuted former allies who continued engaging in piracy without authorization. Henry Morgan died in 1688 at the age of 53, likely from natural causes. His death marked the end of an era, but his legend lived on. His name became synonymous with boldness, strategy, and the fine line between piracy and sanctioned warfare. Over the centuries, Morgan's exploits have been romanticized in literature, film, and even branding, most notably with Captain Morgan rum, which bears his name and image. Morgan's life exemplifies the blurred distinctions between private and privateer, outlaw and nobleman. He was a ruthless attacker of Spanish settlements, but a celebrated hero in England. His ability to navigate the shifting tides of politics and warfare ensured his success and lasting legacy. Sir Henry Morgan's life was defined by ambition, tactical brilliance, and adaptability. From a young privateer to one of the most feared commanders in the Caribbean, his journey was marked by triumph, controversy, and transformation. His raids against the Spanish reshaped power dynamics in the Caribbean, while his later roles as a colonial governor highlighted his ability to transition from warfare to governance. Whether viewed as a pirate or a patriot, Morgan remains one of the most fascinating figures in maritime history. His legacy continues to captivate historians, storytellers, and adventure seekers alike, ensuring his name will not be forgotten.